We're now joined by Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet, who's currently first in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series standings and was also last week's winner at Daytona. Jimmie, talk a little bit about another strong track for you here at New Hampshire. Talk about coming into this race, coming off last week's win.
Yeah, excited to be here. I mean, this track is challenging for everybody. Chad really likes this racetrack and the engineering required to get the car to work. There's very little vertical loading, a lot of lateral loading with the race car and the way you use the springs and shocks and the roll center of the car to make the car work. Chad really enjoys that exercise, and I feel like last year we were probably the second best car in both races. The 11 had a bunch of speed, but I've won a few times here and have been competitive, and it's always been a good track for me. So I'm excited to be back, and a lot like the other drivers, hopeful to be in the chase. And we look at this track and know that we come back here in the chase, and we need to treat this with a little more care and attention. And if you leave here with a good result, it just kind of checks one of the boxes going into the chase that you feel like you'll be competitive.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions for Jimmie. We'll take our first one from Lee.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Nobody takes anything away from what you guys do. You're five-time champions, but what happened at the end of last year's chase kind of really put things more in motion for you guys to come back and just go back to your just more conservative but stellar ways? I mean, because you're kind of back in a little more consistent, so to speak, than you were when the chase ended last year.
I look at 2011 and think there was more growing that went on over that off season leading into 12 than what's gone on from the end of 12 to now. We had the speed, we had the tools to win the championship last year. The year before, we didn't, and there was more going on there. Last year we had that bad race at Phoenix, but still went to Homestead and were in a great position to take care of business. And a series of mistakes by our own team, so we took ourselves out of it. So, that's almost easier to swallow and to deal with than it is being slow. In a weird way, we spent less time focusing on changes that we needed to make and what was going on with our speed and end result than we did in 11. We spent a lot of time thinking about things and knew that we needed to dig in deep and rethink our engineering process, the way we're taking the cars to the racetrack, and a lot of stuff there. So, I think that this offseason was really just a continuation of where we were at the end of last year. Even though we didn't get the championship, we had a lot to be proud of over those final 10 races. A lot of speed in our car, and just two bad events at the end on top of the two car, really doing an awesome job. Kept us from winning the championship.
All right, let's go to David Newton, and then we'll come back up front to Reed.
Yeah, David Newton, ESPN.com. Jeff Gordon was in here earlier, and while he said the championship's not over, the other teams can win it, he said the championship's the 48 teams to lose. How do you deal with that? Do you feel like there are other teams that you would consider serious threats out there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, without a doubt. I think that there's a few out there that have shown their strength. I think the 20 car is the first car that comes to mind. Right now we have a big points lead, but that all goes away when the chase gets here, and that changes the game. Not only that aspect, but and we still have a few months before the chase starts, and we know how fast things can change in the garage area, and the speed that an organization may have won't be there 2 months from now. So we're working ahead and looking ahead, and we've been testing, and we have a lot of test sessions left on the books that NASCAR will allow us to test tracks we race at, and all of that has been saved in hopes that we can find more speed and develop our cars further yet. I am very proud that we started this season a little bit off on the 1.5 to 2 mile racetracks, and we were able to find that speed and get it in our cars. But test sessions really going to take it to the next level, and I'm happy that we have that room to grow still.
Is it almost like LeBron in the Miami Heat expected to win the title, or Michael Jordan when he dominated? Does that expectation add pressure, though, to the moment that you're expected to do this?
I don't know. I don't let that outside pressure affect me much. I rarely recognize it or see it. There's more pressure on myself to perform, and more pressure that Chad has on himself, the team, our team dynamic, than anything outside like that. I really don't focus on those things.
All right, let's go to Reed.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire Service. Jimmie, with the lead, with the points lead you've got and the number of wins you've got, are the next 8 races more about going a little bit outside the box, finding out what works, what doesn't work, experimenting a little bit, or are they more about accumulating wins and bonus points?
Yeah, I mean, ideally we need to do a little of both, but we'd be foolish to get too far away from what we're doing now. It's clearly working. Bonus points are going to be everything, and you know, we've missed out on some bonus points through the year so far. So a little of both, and I would say the closer we get to the chase, the less experimenting we would do. You know, you need to hone in and know what you're going to take to the track and get familiar with it. And I think it's also important to run well leading into the chase so that the driver's used to the pressure and familiar with running up front. Pit crew is when they jump off the wall or through the car. You know, there's just something about that that's good for a team.
All right, let's go here.
Gordon Kirby with Motorsport Magazine. Jimmie, you've had a number of races this year where you've been very dominant on a wide variety of tracks, and you've earned this reputation, if you will, of being the favorite for the championship. In your career and where you stand today, would you say you are at the top of your game, and are you still improving? Can you quantify that in any way?
Yeah, I feel I'm a far better driver today than I am from my rookie year, my first championship, or my 5th. You know, experience is so helpful and useful and important in our sport. And I remember saying in different media situations that I would trade my age for experience any day. You know, it really, really does make a big difference. When you look at the generations before mine in racing, and I saw a stat somewhere where the average Cup driver's starting point was in the early 30s. And you look at when Earnhardt won his last championship, and the bulk of his championships, he was older. I think the same thing went for Petty. That's all because of experience. And I feel that I'm much smarter, focused. My talents are refined. You know the racetracks. I know my industry. Everything is so much better today than it was in previous years.
All right, let's go to Jim. And
Jim.
then, go ahead.
Jim Noble, ESPN. How much more interesting would a chase with Kurt Busch be in it, considering what he's had to overcome, I guess, the last couple of years, and what he's accomplished this year with the 78 team?
I think it'd be a huge statement. I'm not sure it's going to change much on the track. I mean, he's racing for wins now and in there mixing it up, you know, each and every week. But to see a smaller team, you know, if they were able to make the chase and fight for the championship, it really highlights NASCAR's vision or focuses in on the vision that NASCAR's had all along, where you know, anybody can come and show up with a race car and race and have a shot. So I think it would be great for the team to make it. And I think, you know, for Kurt to kind of bring everything full circle and to get that done would be really cool for him.
All right, go ahead.
Rich Thompson, Boston Herald. You mentioned the number 2. Do you kind of feel that Brad's learning how tough it is to be on top?
Yeah, I mean, every champion goes through it. To come back and try to repeat is really difficult to do. And when the spotlight is on you as you're chasing your first championship and you get it, that light intensifies quite a bit more coming back the next year, and I know it from my own experience. And you know, it's 5 times that and what he's been going through, and the little things we've dealt with over the years. You know that he's living through and experiencing. Now everything from you've got to kind of be careful what you say because many more people pay attention, and a passing comment is now a headline somewhere. Where the previous year it was tail end of an article and didn't mean much. Now it's a headline. So that's just one example of how things really change. And I think he's handling it well. I mean, we all, you know, hit bumps in the road and learn as we go down the road, and I'm by no means imperfect. So I definitely understand what kind of some of the things he's been through.
All right, let's go to Kurt, and then we'll come back up to Jason.
Kurt Cavan, Indianapolis Star. I'm not really sure how to ask this, and you probably will struggle answering it. But as you get better and you talk about all this experience and you're racing against so many guys, one of the guys you race against is Jeff. How does Jeff come to meetings, and does he still bring as much to those discussions and the competitiveness of him? You know, it's been a while now since he's won a championship. He's not won a race in a fair amount of time. How does Jeff fit in this as you see it?
I honestly haven't seen a change in Jeff from when I first started and he was off of his last championship year to now. The feel he has for the car, his focus, his involvement with the team, if anything, I'd say he's probably more available to his team and around the race shop today than he was when I started. And he used to tease me because I was a new excited kid that showed up and was there 3-4 times a week, and he wasn't there that much. So it's kind of reversed now a little bit in a lot of ways with the amount of time spent at the shop. So that's all there, and I know he's working hard. I know Alan's working hard, and that team is, and they've been awfully close. And he jokes about how many years of good luck that he had, and I guess in some ways he jokes about that it's all coming back on him now, because he's had very fast race cars and been very capable of winning races and fighting for championships, but he's had some really wacky things happen to him.
All right, we're going to go to Jason and then back with Reed. Go ahead, Jason.
Jason Remillard, Springfield Republican. People always say that you and Chad and your team set sort of the model for how to win championships in the chase format. I mean, how does that sort of make you feel that people put you guys up as that that example, that bar that that's set there for the other 42 teams to go after?
It's a big compliment for sure, and we're proud of that. But at the same time, there isn't a team that's studied more than us. So anything we do, the others follow quickly and try to take our system or our formula and make it better. So we do a nice job, though, of keeping our blinders on and worried about our car, our situation. And I think in the long run, that's been really good for us and allows us to keep evolving. But it's a smart garage area, and people pay very close attention to what we do.
All right, let's take our last question from Reed.
Along that same vein, I was struck with something Kevin Harvick said this morning. He said in looking at the 48 team, they don't seem to have peaks and valleys. They don't seem to have a comfort level. In other words, when you guys are spanking the field, you're still looking for something else to improve upon. How do you know where to look in the first place when you're already at the top of the heap? And how do you stay motivated to keep improving once you get to that level?
I think for myself, I know that it's not going to last forever. And when you're racing the best in the world, you've got to always elevate your game, your abilities to stay there. So that's just kind of a natural thing for myself, and I believe for all drivers that share the same ambition to win a championship. From the team side, Chad's desire and his passion for the sport and for fast race cars really does it. And there aren't big areas to work anymore. It's really about, as he likes to say, it's stacking pennies. And you just continue to find a little bit in each area and keep stacking them, and eventually they'll turn into something. And that's where, I think he's different than others. And there are times where he's putting in all the hours, but maybe we're working in the wrong area and we miss it. I mean, that happens. Majority of the time, though, he'll figure out the right area to work in and where the speed is in the car, and we'll get it dialed in. So, I like him in my wearing a 48 headset and on top of my pit box. Works really well.
All right, Jimmie, thank you for your time today, and best of luck this weekend.